Hello and welcome to a new series of Trainspotting. In this programme, I get my hands on some heavy metal in the company of a heavy metal legend, Bruce Dickinson of Iron Maiden. New boy Steve is also at the controls on what has to be the ultimate in computer simulation, but only gets to stand in awe on one of the first tilt runs in this country for 30 years. And I relive more teenage hero worship at the feet of one of my favourite class of diesels, the Peaks. You may remember in the first series of Trainspotting my day at the Avon Valley Railway, where I learnt to drive one of their 060 tank engines that they have there. Excellent day, fantastic fun, had by all. But I've decided to take it a step further and drive something a bit bigger. So I've come to the Bluebell Railway in Sussex, where I teamed up with a hero of mine, Bruce Dickinson, who, as well as being lead singer of Iron Maiden, has retrained as a commercial airline pilot and also happens to be a train fanatic.
Hello, Mark.
How are you?
Yes, I'm doing very well.
Shall we go?
Let's go.
Come on, Bruce.
Can't wait to get my hands on a shovel.
So, Bruce, I know you're an airline pilot now, but when did your interest in trains first begin?
Grandad was a coal miner. I lived with my granddad in Worksop, which is up northish. And we used to go down to Worksop Station and sit and watch the steam trains hammer through. I believe the Flying Scotsman used to come through there at one point. Anyway, sitting on the footbridge over the top and just standing there and getting covered in smoke.
Clive Groom and John Padgham were to be our driver instructor team, and Clive immediately set us to oiling our loco for the day, the magnificent Blackmore Vale.
So that's a feeder, not an oil can.
Okay.
And there's your cloth for taking the corks out. Right. If you run out of oil, give us a shout.
Okay.
Get engineers to do this, you know, on the aeroplanes.
Now, I did mention that you are an airline pilot these days, Bruce. Of course, you're still with Iron Maiden.
Yeah.
Is there a championship fencer as well?
Yeah.
Is there any string to your bow that you haven't tried in life?
I always wanted to be an engine driver. When I was a kid, I always wanted to be an engine driver or an astronaut.
How did you get into flying aeroplanes then?
Well, I just started on little itty-bitty tiddler ones, and eventually I thought, well, I ended up flying the band around, in fact.
Did you?
Yeah. I flew the band around. I was sort of like their pilot for a while. So I thought, well, try and get a proper job. And I've never had a proper job, actually.
You're also a broadcaster these days for the Beeb, aren't you?
Yeah, I do just 3 hours a week.
You still writing?
Don't get any time to do that. I can just about write my own name.
Clive?
Oh, good.
You are all oiled in the correct places.
You didn't miss a cork.
No? Right, so what's the next then?
Right, well, I'm going to run through the controls with you. The driver's controls first.
Right.
OK, so at the moment...
Now, we obviously had to pay careful attention to Clive's briefing before Bruce was let loose with 128 tonnes of heavy metal.
That's it. And then more on that.
Hey!
OK, shut the regulator now. Try and keep it open. Lovely.
Now, I was hoping to have a chat with Bruce whilst all this was going on, but he was concentrating so hard that I daren't interrupt. Next, it was my turn to take the controls.
Now, I'm going to test you out by asking you now to go back into the siding and actually buffer up to some coaches.
All right.
You've got to be really precise. Slow, slow, slow. Full on. OK, nice and smooth. And we're on. OK,
right.
So we'll go down and hook on.
Jolly good. Blimey, that's heavy. Oh, right, OK.
And
Yep.
keeping your fingers where they won't get pinched,
Yeah.
put it over the coach hook. That's it.
Right, OK.
Right, so onto the shovel, look back.
You get there? That's it, and have a look, see where it went. Not bad.
Not bad.
Have another go,
Go
yeah,
first go.
that's it.
Go on then. Imagine doing this on a winter's day when your hands are freezing cold. Yes.
Lovely, well done, well done.
OK, right, let's go.
tell you what, it was cracking.
Did you enjoy it?
I really did, yeah.
Excellent. I'm
Yeah,
glad
could you
about
tell?
Yeah, I could actually. Although you were very studious when it came to actually opening the regulator a few times.
Oh, yeah, I'm afraid old habits die hard, you know. It's like, as soon as somebody sits you in the seat and says, here's 115 tonnes, you know, I get a bit serious.
What was the best part, do you think?
The best bit, just getting the thing into a nice, getting the thing moving and getting it into a nice stride.
Yeah.
And just getting it to where the regulator's just sitting there and you've got the right amount of steam, you've got a nice constant speed and just and you get a right, nice rhythm going. There's a real knack to it, there really is, and I haven't got there yet. Very impressive.
Yeah, excellent.
I was
Well,
impressed.
It's great to meet you.
Yep, all the best.
Glad you've had a good day.
Yes, indeed.
I've always loved trains. Ever since I was a kid, I had this burning ambition to drive one. Closest I ever got was riding on the footplate at a Steam Gull Open Day when I was 10. But now, my chance has come. Well, obviously, I'm not going to be allowed to drive this one, but I am off to the Virgin Trains Training Centre in Crewe to have a go on the next best thing. Colin Campbell's the man in charge of Virgin's Driver Training College, and he gave me an outline of the impressive new facilities that have been installed.
Basically, we have 3 simulators here for Virgin Trains fleet for cross-country and West Coast. We have a West Coast simulator for the Pendolinos, and we have 2 simulators for the Voyager fleet as well.
Why the need for a training centre?
Well, it's important, obviously, with a high-speed railway that we're operating in Virgin, that we give the best training possible to our drivers.
And the drivers, when they come here, what do they have to do?
Well, we have to go through some theory training on the systems on the new trains, and also put them through the paces in the cab of the actual simulators themselves to get them familiar with the controls and how everything works in the train that they're going to learn about. And after we've done that, one of the key things obviously is to go out and drive the real train under supervision, so you can actually feel what the train's like in real life.
It's an £8 million investment here at Crewe. What have you got for your money?
Right, well, we're in the observation room just now, and we're at the control workstation where the instructor actually controls what we're doing on the simulator itself. What we have is the ability to have a virtual reality 3D graphic of a real railway. The other thing we also have is a virtual instrument, so we can see around the whole cab of the Pendolino. There's lots of controls in the cab, and we want to see in detail what buttons the driver's pressing and what controls are being operated. We also have a screen where we can actually control the railway, where we can be the signaller, but we can also control the weather and create the events which we want to actually test the driver on.
And one of the key parts of the simulator here, certainly for the Pendolino and the Super Voyager, must be the tilt mechanism.
Yeah, absolutely, Steve. When we go around a curve, we want to tilt the body shell so that we can actually compensate for going around that curve a bit faster.
Well, it's been a long-held ambition of mine. I've never driven a train. Do you think you could turn me into a driver?
Well, we'll give it a chance and we'll see what happens there.
Oh, this is it, the chance of a lifetime. Bob is my instructor for the afternoon.
Hi, Steve.
The Virgin Pendolino simulator.
This is it.
You ready to go?
I'm ready to go with you.
Let's go for it.
Let's do it.
Well, Colin's in the observation room, setting signals, creating routes. Bob, the man who's got to get me out of Nuneaton. Come on, Bob, what do I have to do?
Well, before we can move this train, Steve, I've got to go through some of the basic controls.
Yep.
On the left-hand side, we've got the direction controller. You need to put that into forward.
Right.
And put your foot on the DSD pedal and keep that depressed all the time. Combined traction brake controller, forward for brake, back for power. Push it down and bring it back into power step 1. And
We're
we're
off.
starting to move.
Goodbye, Nuneaton. Hello, Tamworth.
Should we go a bit faster?
Yep. Can I go down?
Straight back to power step 4, and that's full power, 6,840 horsepower at your fingertips.
Fantastic.
Now what we've got the speed supervision light illuminated blue, the tilt not available light has gone out, we're now tilting.
Oh, look, the tilt. There we are,
Off
that's
you go
it.
to the left, there you are.
And that's okay. The tilt will take this speed. In fact, it's taking, what, 100 miles an hour now? Oh, hang on a minute. What's happened here? Change your weather.
Change your weather, nothing to worry, we can deal with that.
Should I not be slowing off a little bit?
No, you can. This is where your route knowledge comes in.
I'll tell you what, the seasons change quick here, don't they? What's happened now?
They do in the West
Well,
Midlands,
yeah.
that's what it's like. And the fog's cleared, but we've still got the snow. Right, we're doing 125. We're going to continue to increase speed. We're going to get a task warning, and that should come in at 128.5.
Right, we're just about getting to 130. There we are.
There's your
Oops.
warning. Okay, but we're going to ignore that
Right,
and continue to accelerate, and I'll show you what happens. When you get to 6 miles an hour above, you'll get an intervention, and then you'll get an emergency brake application. So we're just doing 130 now,
And back to normal conditions. That snow cleared quick, didn't it?
and there's your intervention. You're no longer in control of the train. So that shows you how TAS works. Right, can you see Tamworth Station?
I can see Tamworth Station, I can see some people waiting to get on as well. They look pleased to see me.
We'll wait till we get there, shall we? If you like to start putting the brake on, 'cause if you don't stop, they won't be very happy at all. Possibly step 2. That's your speed supervision dropped off because we've come off the main line. Oh, they do look pleased, I'm surprised. There we go. So just take the brake off.
So coasting into the station.
Just coasting into the station now.
There we are.
Select neutral.
Yeah.
No more than 30 mile an hour, please, because
Okay.
we're coming back out onto the fast line.
And all the time these, oh.
So lift your foot and down again.
So I went for everything at the same
That's
time.
right,
Now I wasn't
yeah.
sure what to press first.
Get the
Hello?
speed-
What's
right.
this?
Emergency brake, please, Steve. Goodness me, look at that. And hit the plunger. That's not an everyday occurrence.
What was that? What was it?
It was a tree. In fact, it was 2 trees, okay?
So I'm coming to an emergency stop, am I?
You're coming to emergency stop. I've never seen a train driven like that before in all my life, Steve. That was atrocious.
Do you really think I should?
£11 million worth of train.
Should I stick to the day job?
I think you better stick to the day job, don't know.
Now, I did say the simulator was the closest I was going to get to driving a train, but here at Carlisle, I'm going to go one better. I'm going out on a driver training day, and I'm actually going to get in the cab of a real tilting Pendolino. Well, Bob, I wasn't expecting to see you here. I thought you were just the simulator man.
Steve, I'll go anywhere.
Simulator yesterday, the real thing today. Pretty similar, I've got to say.
It is similar, it's got to be similar. A lot of money has been spent on the simulator to get it, the feel of it, exactly the same as the real thing. Alex been on the simulator, this is his first turn at the real thing. We're now doing 110 mile an hour in tilt mode.
And what's he looking out for? What should he be feeling?
Right, he'll feel the tilt as we go in now into this right-hand curve.
Yeah.
He's monitoring all the instruments, the dials and everything. The important thing, he's looking out the window. Obviously, at this sort of speed, things can happen very quickly. He's got to deal with that. He's got to deal with anything that's thrown at him in the cab.
Obviously, this is a replica of what we had yesterday. Does it feel different for him driving this, or should it feel the same?
It should feel pretty similar. The only difference is he's got real-world situation. He's got the movement, he's got things passing him at real-world speeds. He's familiar with the route, but this is the first time he will have driven over it in tilt mode. As we come off this right-hand curve, we get an even tighter one round to the left.
I can see it now.
And we're just about to go into a 6 degree to the left. And over we go.
Oh, there you go. You don't really feel it much though, do you? You can feel a gentle move, but there's no...
It is a smooth transition.
Yeah.
It's very good, very impressive.
And how long does it take a driver to acclimatise to these new trains?
The drivers from coming off the conventional trains, they will get 4 weeks training. They get a week in the class and 3 weeks out with an instructor like myself, actually in and out to drive it, and also some of the systems, faults and failures, how to rectify faults.
And obviously this setup, a lot more computerised than some of the trains that they've been used to?
Tremendously more computerised. The main computer there for the driver is what we call the train management system, TMS screen.
And how exciting is it for drivers to be working on trains like this?
I'd like to think it's exciting. I'm an instructor. That's my job, to make it as exciting as possible. We get different reactions from drivers. One of the old hand drivers summed it up to me beautifully the other week. He said, when I started on the railway, I was shoveling coal into a firebox, and now you're asking me to put my pay number into a computer. And that's the level of change we've had over the years. It's a lovely cab, and they're taking to it very positively.
Lee West, you're press officer with Virgin Trains. Must be very proud to be bringing tilting back to the main line.
Oh, we all are at Virgin. We're absolutely delighted. It's something we've been working hard at now for the best part of 7 years, and today you can see exactly what it's all about.
Well, this is all very exclusive, isn't it? We haven't got passengers on board today. What's going on?
Well, what we're on today is a training train. So we've got a driver who's actually learning to drive the train while it's tilting. We also use these trains as a way of monitoring the train's performance while it's tilting, so we have an engineer on board who's got his laptop downloading various bits of information, and it's also a way of testing the track equipment, so it's basically testing out all elements of tilt.
So how do we get this smooth leaning sensation?
Well, it all starts from a device on the track called a balise, which sends a message to the train, basically instructing it what sort of speed the train should be doing and how much it should be tilting by. There's a gyroscope at the front of the train, and what that does is then it will send a message to each individual carriage down the train, so that when we reach a curve, each carriage knows when it should tilt, how much it should tilt by, so that you go around the curve smoothly. It's a bit like a motorcyclist at a Grand Prix. You see them take a chicane and they lean and their knee goes close to the ground. It's the same principle in that just by tilting those 6 degrees, you can take a corner at maybe 10, 15 miles an hour quicker than you would in a conventional train.
And what kind of journey time savings are you hoping to see?
A good example is probably between Manchester and London, where at the moment it's about 2 3/4 hours. And from September of 2004 we expect to be doing that in 2 hours 5 minutes. On top of that, because we'll be able to run the trains faster, we can run more trains. So again, going back to Manchester, at the moment the peak time service is 1 train an hour. That will go to 1 train every 30 minutes. So it's almost turn up and go.
And this is all down to that little tilt?
Absolutely.
In order to demonstrate the longevity of service of the loco we're going to see today, I've had to make a musical comparison. When they were introduced to the network, Bobby Darin was at number 1 with Mac the Knife, and they powered their way through Beatlemania, glam rock and punk rock, working hard as well, powering freight trains and passenger trains the length and breadth of Britain. But who in the music business had a career like that? Well, ladies and gentlemen, may I present to you the Tom Jones of the loco world, the Peaks. Although the Class 45s and 46s were nicknamed Peaks, it was the Class 44s that were the original stars. I visited the Nottingham Heritage Transport Centre to track down one of the last of these legends. Mike Kerry, you're chairman and director of the Peak Locomotive Company. Can you tell us about the 44s? There were originally only 10 built, weren't there?
Yeah, there were. There were D1 to 10 were built at Derby Loco Works just over the road there, 20 miles away in end of the 1950s, 1958, 59. They were really a prototype class, you might say, because D1 to 10 were just 2300 horsepower locos, and at the time they were built, they were the most powerful single-engine locos in Europe, because you've got one big 12-cylinder Sulzer engine made in Switzerland.
And Peak, I suppose, is just a nickname for them because they were named after mountains in England and Wales.
That's right, yeah. I mean, D1 was Scafell Pike, which is the highest mountain in England, in the Lake District, and D10 at the end of the class is the second highest mountain in Wales. And they went through, D2 is Helvellyn, which is the second highest mountain in England, and D4, Great Gable, is the fourth highest.
And this is what we're in. We're in the cab of Great Gable at the moment.
Yes.
Were they originally used for passenger trains? Because they ended up on freight, didn't they?
And then they went into passenger service straight away on the West Coast main line that's now famous for Virgin trains, London to Glasgow. And because there was only 10 of them, the bigger classes of more powerful locos that follow were able to bump them from the kind of top link.
If you're from the East Midlands, do you have this like affinity with the Peaks?
I think that's going to be the true of anywhere throughout the land. You get an affinity with your local classes of trains, those that you grow up with. I mean, I grew up with these and spent my Saturday mornings down at Nottingham Station watching things like this. So, yeah, that's where the interest comes from.
So we're not going to get a chance to get this one up and running today?
No, not today. It takes, I don't know, 3 or 4 blokes probably a day to get it to go, because the locos don't take kindly to antifreeze, so we store them over the winter, we sheet them over, we drain all the water out and leave them alone for 4 or 5 months. So unfortunately we can't warm it up for you and show you it running.
So I can't see a Peak running today?
You can see a Peak running today. Later on we're hopefully running the 45 and the 46 up at the Midland Railway at Butterley, so if they're behaving themselves I can show you them quite easily.
Fantastic.
They smell the same.
Right, so here we are then at Butterley. This is the Midland Railway Centre.
Yeah, Butterley Station. This is the western end of the line almost, and it's a 3.5 mile branch line in Derbyshire.
And this is a 45 or a 46?
This is 45041 Royal Tank Regiment. They're all named after regiments really, with the exception of Lytham St Anne's, which was nobody's got to the bottom of really.
Now, you've got a 46 up in the depot.
Yeah.
Can I get up to the depot and see the 45 and 46 next to each other?
Yeah, we can ride up on this one and go and have a look.
Fantastic, thanks very much. So Mike, here we are then, we've got an example of a 45 Royal Tank Regiment here and D182, the 46 there.
Yeah.
What's the fundamental difference between the two locos?
They're exactly the same, except the Class 45's got Crompton Parkinson electrical equipment, and when they went out of business, the Class 46s which followed in the build line were built with Brush electrical equipment.
And that's the only difference?
That's it.
Because I noticed the 45 was built at Crewe and the 46 at Derby.
Yeah, all the 46s are built at Derby up until the beginning of 1963, and the 45 bill was split between Derby and Crewe.
Right, and how many peaks were built altogether?
193, including the 10 Class 44s.
And how many are preserved up and down the country, do you know?
Oh gosh, 10, 11, 12, I'll have to look at my book.
All right, okay. Are they susceptible to breaking down?
Oh, yeah, we've had a problem with the tank regiment today where it wouldn't take power. There's niggling little problems simply because they only get occasional use. So, well, as Tom Jones said, it's not unusual.
So if you were to compare yourself to a rock star, then who do you think it would be?
Oh, probably Bryan Adams.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, how about you?
I don't know, I've always thought I resembled Prince a bit, actually.
Prince? You've got to be joking.
Why not?
Your hair's all wrong.